Hi chums. I put a video up recently about the fuel press, and Andy Davis by the Sea suggested that I had a lot more sawdust than I was letting on, because the last he heard was that I made a couple of goblets and he was wondering what else I'd been making. So this is just a little update on what I'm doing on the wood turning and carving side. So this is a piece of silver birch. Silver birch is very soft when it dries, and it frays like pine, but it does take quite a good finish. Now that's a friction polish I've put in that. That's about 4 inches tall, but it's cold and the friction polish didn't take so well. So I'm going to try Renaissance wax as well to see what that does to it. But that's a little bud vase that I made, and then that's for an aunt, an aunt in Canada. So I also made this for her. It's a little goblet with a captive ring, and that's apple, and that was from a crotch piece, and you can see where the crotch went into the wood there, and there's a bark inclusion, and I managed to keep it, and you can almost see a face in that if you look closely enough. But once again, friction polish didn't finish very well, but I wondered why that was so hard to make. It took me a long time to make this, and then I realized that there might be a slight difference in size between that and the others I'd made. So that's the 4 inch tall apple goblet, and this is the one that you saw before, the cherry goblet. So you can see that there's a big difference. That's 8 inches tall, and that was a lot easier to make actually than this little boy here. So that's another one that's going into Canada. So I'm quite pleased with that. Then a friend of mine imports granite from China for headstones, and it comes on pallets, and the wood is very hard. It's so hard that if you cut a 3 by 3 with a chop saw, it'll blunt a brand new blade in 2 cuts. So my mate who had it over in the yard said, "Do you want to try some of that for turning?" And I went, "Yeah, no problem." Now, the biggest surprise was when I started turning it, that it frays like pine. It's really soft. But when you're cutting it, it cuts like a hardwood. You get lovely, really good burnish behind the tool. So the secret is, don't go in at right angles. Go with the grain. So that's one, what do you call it, tenon that I had, and there's the other one, and you can see the same effect. It's very furry, but I got this out of it, another little bud vase, and in this one here, I left the nail hole in it, one of the nail holes, because somebody was here and they wouldn't believe that this stuff came out of a pallet wood. So it's Chinese wood. I don't know what it is, but it cuts like apple. It like leaves that same burnish behind it, but it's as soft as pine. But if you cut it with an ordinary saw, it's like cutting bog oak. It starts to go really hard. And if you're cutting bog oak, it'll actually, the friction and heat makes it go solid, and the blade starts skidding on the wood. It sort of makes it really hard. And this is the same sort of thing. It goes really hard when you cut it at right angles, but cutting along the grain, it cuts really softly. It's very nice. Once again, friction polish finish, and what do you call it? It didn't take very well, so we'll try the wax in that as well. And then this wee box came out of the same stuff, and got the grain matched up really well, considering there's 2 inches between the lid and the body. Because when you're cutting it, I'll just get a piece here and show. Say that's the blank. When you're making it, that the body comes out of there, but because of the nail holes, one hand here, because of the nail holes, the lid comes out from there, and you have to cut this section away to get rid of the nail holes to get down to this. But the grain still matches up. Now the lid's not tight in that, because I've discovered, and my mate Michael confirmed it, ladies using these, say, for earrings and stuff, they're sitting at a dressing table supposedly, maybe, and they're using one hand all the time, and everything's done with one hand, seems, and they don't want to use both hands to lift the lid off something. So ladies prefer the lids not be real tight. That suited me alright, because I made a bit of a mess of that. I was sanding the inside, and I sanded the rim as well by mistake, and it just was enough to take it out, you know. So that's that. Right, what else have I been doing? I started working with a piece of cherry, and I made my wife, that's wrong. My wife and I agreed one present for Christmas because we couldn't decide what to get each other. Well, I had about a million things I wanted. They don't call it the wood turning the vortex for nothing. But she didn't want anything, so we agreed one present each. So I made this little bangle out of spalted beech. Well, it didn't fit her. It's 66 millimeters in diameter, and it didn't fit. It was just that wee bit too tight. So then I made a cherry one, and it's 69 millimeters in diameter and fits perfectly. So 3 millimeters made all the difference. So that was grand. And then she said, "Can you make more of those because I want the rattly effect?" And apparently this is quite desirable. So I made 3 of them then for her. So I was quite pleased with those. But there's an issue here. When you're doing this, you can see here where I'm going to change hands here. I'm trying not to cover up the speaker. When you're cutting here, there's one that's ready, a bracelet that's already formed. When you're using the parting tool, to part it off, the parting tool is right running parallel to the lathe bed, and it's right on the limit of the tool post if you put the tool post up against the wood. And there's a fair chance you could step between the two. So it's better to have the tool post out here. But then the problem with that is, as you make rings, you end up having to cut further and further. And if you've got the tool post in this position here, and you're cutting here, you have an awful lot of tool overhang. So to get around that problem, I did another wee experiment, and I started making these. And if you see here, you get the bangle off, and then that is the same diameter as the waist. So there's no waist. So those are just a wee experiment. I just started cutting little grooves on them and doing different things. I've used a sliding chuck to do those, to bore the holes. They're good fun, and double-sided tape. And a big tip here: use your double-sided tape once, because if you try being cheap like me and using it twice, the second piece flies off and gets ruined. So for all the price of it, use it once. So that's where I'm at with those. And then I started doing a bit of carving, and we've got this boy here. I started carving him. Now I can't do eyes, so what I did was I made the eyes very deep to give that shadow effect. Now he's not finished yet. I'm still doing a bit more work for him, but he's going to another friend, and I have a bit more work to do on him. I'm quite pleased with that, but I may as well show you my Santa Clauses when you see this. I decided to do some Santa Clauses, and look, for the carvers, 2 carving gloves, because I have a box of bandages out here that when I started carving I ended up with 18 cuts in my fingers, but not one of them came from carving. They all came from moving my hand around the blade, and I wasn't used to where the blade would be, and I ended up getting cut, slicing myself and nicking myself. So I got 2 carving gloves. Now there's my first attempt at a Santa Claus, but he looks more like a Norman soldier with the chain mail and the helmet with the metal piece over the nose. So I've got a lot of work to do on him. I don't even know if I can rescue him yet. And then I decided to try another one, and he's not even started right. So I've just got him basically roughed out a wee bit. But that's where I'm going with the carving. But I'm going to have to get a couple more knives, which Alan might be interested in. So I'll be getting in touch with you, Alan, if you're watching this. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. A bit of wood turning, and a bit of carving, and a bit of bracelets, and a bit of pendants. So that's where I am with that. Okay then, happy enough now, Andy? Oh, by the way, I'll put a link up for Andy's channel, because it's very good. He's into radios, and he does some very good stuff on radios. And he also has a beautiful vegetable garden and flower garden, and it's got raised beds and everything else in it. And I'm hoping, hint, hint, Andy, that there's going to be planting videos when the raised beds start this year. Okay then, all the best, chums. Bye bye.